Anthropic started watermarking Claude on August the 2nd, and within about a day, somebody in your department forwarded the headline with a note that said, "Finally, I want to save you that conversation. Here is what actually shipped." Anthropic now embeds an invisible, machine-readable mark in text that Claude generates. Files get signed provenance metadata built on the C2PA standard. It runs everywhere Claude runs, and it applies worldwide, not just in Europe, even though the reason it exists is European. Article 50 of the EU AI Act took effect on August the 2nd and requires generative systems to mark their output so a machine can find it. That part is real. A frontier lab just shipped provenance at scale. Now here is the sentence nobody forwarded. From Anthropic's own documentation, detecting a Claude mark tells you that the content may have been processed by Claude. May, processed, not wrote. Sit with that, because your entire September depends on the difference. The mark cannot separate a student who typed one prompt and pasted the answer from a student who used the model to fix comma splices. It cannot separate either of them from a multilingual student who wrote the whole thing herself in Portuguese and ran it through a translation. Same mark, 3 completely different acts. One of them is not even a problem. And the documentation tells you exactly when the mark is not there. Text that has been heavily edited, paraphrased, translated, or mixed into other writing. Passages that are very short. Files whose metadata was stripped by a format conversion, a resave, or a screenshot. Read that as an incentive structure, because that is what it is. The student who pastes the output and submits it gets flagged. The student who runs that same output through a second tool does not. You have not built a filter that catches dishonesty. You have built one that selects for one more step of laundering, one more piece. Absence proves nothing. No mark does not mean a human wrote it. Older Claude models are not covered yet, and every other model is a separate decision by a separate company. So why am I not upset about this? Because provenance marking is good infrastructure. It is answering a different question than the one you are asking. Provenance asks where a file came from. That is a question about an object, and publishers and courts need it. You are asking whether a specific person learned something. That is a question about a person. No measurement of an object will ever answer it. Seat time is not learning. Word count is not thinking. A provenance flag is not authorship. Every one of those is a real measurement of a real thing sitting next to what you actually care about. And that is exactly what makes them so easy to accept. So what do you do instead? 3 checkpoints, and none of them need software you do not already have. 1. Ask for the decision, not the draft. Before anything is written, students submit the choice they made and the option they rejected. A model will invent a plausible pair. It cannot invent the one your student defended out loud in your seminar on Tuesday. 2. Ask what changed. At the midpoint, 1 paragraph on what they now think is wrong with their own first version. Revision history is the cheapest authorship evidence there is, and almost nobody collects it. 3. Ask them to declare the tool, not a confession box, a line item, the way you would cite a library database. A student who names the tool and shows the edit has demonstrated more competence than one who avoided it entirely. Not one of those asks whether AI was used. All 3 ask what the student did. The first question has an adversarial answer. The second has an answer only that student can give. Here is the honest part. Rebuilding one assignment this way takes about 40 minutes. Then you look at your term and it is 11 more times 3 sections. The method is not the hard part. The hard part is that a good decision made once has to be remade 40 times before December. So do the first one by hand this week on one assignment. The free session linked below hands you the rebuilt prompt, the 3 checkpoints, and the authorship line your students submit. Anthropic shipped a signal that tells you a model was in the room. It will never tell you whether a student was. Only your assignment can do that, and it is the one thing here you can rewrite before Monday.